It is the start of the 16th century. The Roman Catholic Church is the single most powerful organization in Europe. From the dense forests of Poland in the east to the Portuguese coast in the west, one religion holds sway over millions of lives. The head of the church is elected and appointed by God as Pope, above kings and above emperors. He lives and rules in Rome as God's representative on earth, calling for crusades, having enormous power and enormous wealth. The Pope could make or break a European royal family, but by the 1500s, things were about to change. As with most political organizations, the Church too was riddled with corruption and greed. Hello and welcome to the channel. I am of course the Knight of History, and this is part number 2 of the Henry VIII story. A story about a man who literally changed the way that England did things, and he did as he pleased. However, to understand why Henry VIII moved away from Rome and the Catholic Church, today we are going to speak about what was happening in Christianity at that time. We are going to talk about the English Reformation. Then, more importantly, if you're feeling charitable, please go find the link down below in the description to go donate to something called Mercy Ships, a charity which has hospitals on ships helping people out who have absolutely nothing. Therefore, any money will help. I even ran the London Marathon to help the fundraising. Please also don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Now let's get into this. The papacy had been made extraordinarily wealthy due to power-hungry popes who paid little attention to the religion that they were leading. Maybe the most important of these powerful popes was the infamous pope in this respect, Alexander VI. He came from a powerful Spanish family known as the Borgias. He threw all-night parties, stole money from the church, and had scandals all over him. He even had 10 or more children with mistresses as he kept a harem, which is absolutely ridiculous because he's supposed to be part of the Catholic clergy and he was supposed to lead them, and that meant that he was supposed to be celibate and pious. He clearly was not. In a way to raise money, the Catholic Church sold what is known as indulgences, a certificate signed by the Pope allowing Christians to buy their forgiveness for their sins, meaning that Catholics could go against the teachings of the Ten Commandments and the Holy Books by purchasing these indulgences as a way of get out of hell free card, a way to get out of perjury. There was even a very lively market for holy relics, normally said to be body parts of saints or even Jesus Christ himself. It did seem, though, that a lot of these holy relics were not perhaps the genuine article, because the church kept selling them and buying them, such as things like fingernails from Jesus Christ, parts of the tree in the Garden of Eden, even vials of Virgin Mary's breast milk. Pilgrims would pay churches enormous sums to come and see or even touch these relics and have their divine powers come towards them. One Protestant said that the saints must have had around 6 arms and 26 fingers with all the relics being sold. With all of this corruption and money-making schemes, the Catholic Church became extraordinarily wealthy. Even holy orders of nuns and monks who were meant to be living a life of poverty and simplicity in monasteries and abbeys could be found living a life of luxury. The clergy were wearing vestments made of the finest silk and velvet, with actual churches being richly ordained with golden altars, frescoes, and burning incense and stained glass windows, a real palace for godly men. Because of all this corruption, many priests felt that the church had strayed away from the true word of Jesus Christ, and Catholicism had been made rotten by its wealth. Jesus lived a life of piety and preached against greed, so why on earth was the church not following the word of their prophet? These priests began to attack the Pope and the Catholic Church, giving sermons, writing short books explaining their beliefs, and they were greatly aided by a new invention, a new technology that came into light at that point in time, the printing press, which allowed them to spread their books throughout Europe. Now, due to their protests against the church, they earned a specific name, the Protestants. Protestantism gained particular power throughout Germany, Switzerland, Holland, and Belgium, where priests such as John Calvin and Martin Luther gained flocks of followers. They proposed a more simpler form of Christianity, replacing rituals and superstitions with the word of the Bible, and richly decorated churches with plain whitewashed walls. Fundamentally, Protestantism was the belief that all Christians should have their own relationship with God, formed through regular reading of the Bible. However, the Catholic Church had a Bible which could only be read in Latin, Greek, or Hebrew, and all services, or Mass, was done in Latin, meaning that only people who could read these languages or interpret what was being said because they were literate could understand what was happening. These were mainly the educated priests and nobles and even some royals as well. So, in secret, the Protestants began to translate the Bible into their own languages so that more common men and women could have access to the Word of God. This movement reformed the Catholic Church and Christianity in a whole as it began to spread around Europe, and it became known as the Reformation. The one priest we mentioned earlier, Martin Luther, was born in Germany, and by the age of 22, he was a monk, and he went off to further his theology in Rome in 1510. But when he got there, he was absolutely appalled by the wealth and opulence and corruption that he saw, and by 1517 he decided to write his list of arguments known as the 95 Theses, attacking the church abuses with particular interest to the people buying these indulgences and the church selling indulgences so people could do what they like. Luther nailed these 95 Theses to the door of his church in Wittenberg, Germany. This is said to be the real start of the Reformation. By 1522, at the meeting of the Diet of the Worms, which was led by one Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, who I did an entire series about, go and find it down below. At the Diet of the Worms, Pope Leo X declared that Martin Luther was in fact a heretic and had him excommunicated. After leaving the court, though, he was in fact ambushed and kidnapped. However, his kidnappers were actually sent by Frederick III, a German prince, who took Luther to Wartburg Castle to hide him. It was here where he started to write the German translation of the Bible so that the German people could have access to the Bible. Whilst living in the castle, he decided he was no longer Catholic, and therefore he no longer needed to stick to the Catholic traditions and laws of celibacy. He met an ex-nun called Catherine von Bora, and they went on to marry and have 6 children together. By 1534, he had actually finished the German version of the Bible, which saw the printing presses go into overdrive. The German people converted from Catholicism to Protestantism as quickly as they could. And this sect of Christianity, Protestantism, still dominates Germany, even today. I really hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you got a better understanding of the Reformation, which influenced our King, Henry VIII. Please go like, comment, and subscribe, and more importantly, if you can, go and donate. Thank you so much for watching. The more you know.